Hey guys, it's Chris from EXP Educators, and today is just a fantastic day. If you didn't say, holy shit, Batman, look who's here. Jay Kinder is with us today. Jay is a legend in the real estate industry. I have known Jay for probably got to be approaching 20 years at this juncture.
Yep.
We were both much younger once upon a time, and I met him with Craig Proctor. Jay, how are you, my friend?
Man, I'm doing good, Chris. How are you? It's good to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you. So, a lot of people know you, but there's possible there's somebody in here who hasn't heard a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about your kind of real estate career and what got us here to today.
Yeah, man. So, got into real estate. This is 25 years ago now. So, I was 19 years old. Didn't really know much about anything really. What it was going to take to find success in real estate. So I did what most people do, is struggle to try to figure it out. Not long after that, I ran into you at a Craig Proctor event. We paid a lot of people a lot of money, I think, over the years, and trying to find success in real estate. And so fortunate, to have met a lot of great people like you, and got to collaborate with agents that were doing big things, and ultimately, stumbled my way through to building a successful business. I think at the peak selling 500 plus homes a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was all good. It was a little bit frustrating, I'll say. I think the frustration of what it took to build a successful business kind of led me down the path of, opening a coaching and training organization. I felt like, that there had to be a better way for people to find success than the way it took all of us to do it. And
sure,
as much money as it took, and as much many miles in the old tin can flying around to different places. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, we pursued that passion ever since 2006. And then back in 2016, we started a brokerage. Ultimately, stumbled upon EXP a couple different times. Two people, shared it with us, and timing just wasn't right. Didn't really, know if it was the right thing or not. And then our good buddy Al Stasic joined the company, and we took a little closer look at it for his sake more than anything, and realized, man, this might be the best business model we've ever seen. And so we aligned with it, and been here since November 2017. So we've been here now 4 years. So. A good 4 years, I'll say that.
I think things have changed a little bit from that first NAEA event we had there in Lawton. It was actually a Kinder Reese event.
Yeah, right. You're right.
Yeah.
Came
to Lawton. So that was awesome. That was awesome. So, you guys are going there. You've been ultra successful. You left out some details, like you were number 2 Caldwell banker in the world. You were 22, 23 years old of age when you did that. You were doing it in a small town. You weren't in some massive marketplace.
Right.
And then, you guys evolved, and you and Mike have done some phenomenal things together, to say the very least, and have helped so many of us throughout the years. So you're helping, you're going. You see this model, it's the early days. Maybe talk about that. I know you've told me about that kind of first exposure, that when you got the phone call and you're like, what do you mean come join you? And you came out there and you flew in. There's a room full of just a couple of people, and these were the early days. What was that like when you walked in there?
Yeah, it was interesting because I looked at it twice. In fact, a good friend and client of ours who wasn't at EXP is actually the second person that shared it with me. And he's a real smart guy. So I thought, well, maybe I should look at this a little closer. Mm-hmm. And the takeaway was, they weren't very big. I mean, in fact, we were, arguably we were bigger than they were at the time. And at least the first couple of exposures. So, we looked at the model as okay, maybe they have something here that we should be paying attention to. Maybe the stock, obviously revenue share and some of those things were very interesting, but it wasn't even something that was really on our radar. We were always looking for ways to just add value to what we were doing. And I think that's kind of how we looked at it at first. But when Al said he was going to join, we looked at it differently. We looked at it from his perspective, instead of, somebody trying to sell me on joining EXP, and just in kind of being open-minded. And to be honest, there was no chance in my mind, and I think a lot of people kind of resonate with this, is that kind of once you've gone independent and you're not paying anybody anything, it's it's kind of hard to imagine going back to paying, a residual, or paying a royalty or paying, something to any brokerage. And so, especially with all the training in the background that we had. So that was, it was hard for me to get my head around the fact that we weren't going to be paying EXP anything. Once I got my head around that, it made a lot more sense. But, the influencers and really anybody has an opportunity to get paid to be DXP. And that's, I think that's what people miss, is that they just don't understand the business model. Just like I didn't understand the business model the first couple of times I looked at it. So, but yeah, that was, we came to that event, and it was, man, it felt a lot. You could feel the energy. There was just a different feel about it. It was small. So like I said, it wasn't a huge group. I mean, we've done events that were as big as those before, but we felt like, and then I looked around the room, and there was an awful lot of people I knew, and that was interesting because none of them had reached out to me. In fact, only Brent Gove had called me. But friends like Jeff Willems hadn't called me. Clayton Gitz hadn't called me. All these are folks that we coached or were good friends with in the industry. And so hadn't, just hadn't really registered, but we definitely felt that it was something special. So we got to meet, Glenn, Jason, sat down with Gene, Rob, Flick. Once we heard Glenn's vision, it was clear that, they had a tiger by the tail, and, we wanted to be a part of it. If we could figure out how to align to it, we wanted to be a part of it. So it was cool to be, it wasn't the early days. I think the early days, you probably can imagine, in a brokerage just growing. They weren't in all 50 states when we came across this, but most of the big challenges of like getting agents paid on time, which, that had been a shit show early on, Yeah. And so I don't envy anybody who can bootstrap. I mean, I have nothing but respect for Glenn for being able to bootstrap this thing to where it's at today. I mean, that's honestly a documentary worthy story to be told. But yeah, early on, I think they probably had just come out of the season of challenges of, trying to scale operations. Mm-hmm. And so, everybody was, we were like, hey, this looks really good, and certainly when we joined, it felt really good. Like things were not perfect. Onboarding took a couple of weeks, but certainly was an interesting time to be joining. I think we kind of hit it at maybe the right time. Of course, I think now is I would argue today is a better time because you don't have all the same challenges that we had in recruiting people to this model in the early days. So It's a lot easier for everybody now.
Right.